Live and welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. It's your host Rob, aka B-Ball Archives, and once again, I got the bums in the house. All of this is brought to you by Love You Hard TV. But James, Adam, thanks for being here this afternoon. We got some good finals stuff to get to, just a nice bow we're gonna put on Game 7 and then some off-season stuff, some KD trade talks, some draft stuff we're getting into tomorrow, a lot of fun stuff. But first and foremost, guys, how are you feeling? How you doing?
Bumming it.
Yeah, I'm
Just
feeling good,
loving
man.
life.
This is an interesting time of year for sports because we just had an awesome NBA Finals. The NBA Draft was one of my favorite events of the year. But then it's like, unless you're a baseball fan, sports is about to be a little sus for a while. Like I'm gonna have some like UFC events on Saturday nights here and there, but let's be happy and positive and focused. We got the draft coming up. The NBA Finals was fantastic, so excited to be here to talk through it with you boys.
Yeah. No, it's still an exciting time of year, and plus, Friday's free agency or Monday's free agency getting started. One of those two. I can't remember what the date is anymore.
And I'm excited to talk about that as a Spurs fan and some news that's already come out. But first, it would be remiss if we didn't discuss the Game 7 and the NBA Finals that we just witnessed.
Oof.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's absolutely heartbreaking. And I don't even think you can start to talk about the actual play on the court without mentioning the Tyrese Halliburton injury. I think that's going to always be the stain that's left on this potentially, legendary Game 7 that could have been. Unfortunately, I think that'll always, taint a little bit of that OKC legacy that, may or may not be building currently. But at the same time, you can't take that much credit away from what OKC did this season. How are you guys feeling about that Game 7?
Yeah, and I mean Indiana was still up at the half ultimately, so like that's still a game that you have to win. And credit to Oklahoma City for not letting their guard down when Halliburton got hurt and driving through the finish line.
Yeah, I think it's this. Whenever you look back at this NBA Finals, it's going to be like, hey, Oklahoma City was great, but I think everyone's going to remember this Pacers team who really like America, I think, was behind. And it's interesting because Oklahoma City is such like a young and likable team. Their stars are humble, like they're just like a good group of guys, but everyone was pulling for the Pacers. And whenever you look back at this finals, you're going to remember the Halliburton injury, and you're going to remember how much you like this Pacers team, and you might remember this being the start of a potential dynasty for Oklahoma City because they're poised to win for a long time with how they're
Yeah.
positioned.
We haven't had a repeat champion in the NBA since 2017, 2018, and I think Oklahoma City is probably better positioned than anybody that's won a title since then to break that streak.
They're like plus 200 and something to make it to the finals, I think, or to win it. And those are the best odds for a returning champion in a long, long time. So
And they should be great odds. I mean, if they have to lose anybody, they have 13 first round picks coming up over the next handful of years, so they can just kind of make it a conveyor belt, and they don't have any. They have the best drafter possibly in NBA history running their front office. So I mean,
Right. That's like honestly the biggest win is Sam Presti. Like I don't think anyone envisioned this whenever he took that front office job in 2007 when he was only 29 years old and he was really just, really aggressive with how he would look at rebuilding a team. And I think that when you look at how many times this OKC roster has retooled, he's done a marvelous job at just really blowing it up when it needs to be blown up, and then just going all in. And yeah, you're seeing the upside of it finally.
he put a promising rap career aside, so he better be good at this. I don't know if y'all see that story from last week. I
No.
think. Yeah, no, there's a
No,
Sam
but
Presti rap album. Pablo Torre went and dug it up. It sounds about how you think it would.
I'm guessing what he's doing now, he would have found more success in. But to Rob's point, it's crazy. Like if you look back at those Oklahoma City teams, like that they had with KD and Russ and James Harden and Serge Ibaka, like whenever they lost to the Heat in the finals, it was like, oh, like this team's going to be back. They're going to be a problem in the West for years to come. And then just they didn't. The whole team was gone. And all the steps that they've made along the way to get back to where they are. And they've got 2 first-round picks this year, 2 next year, 2 the following year. They're about to be able to have extensions to both Jalen Williams and Chet. They've already got Shea locked up. Like, they're going to be faced with, like, can you afford to pay Lou Dort? That's going to be their next decision. They've got Hartenstein only on for, I think, another 2 years, like his $30 million contract. But they have so many guys that they're going to be able to have on cheaper first-round contracts that they're going to be dynamic for a long time. It's kind of scary as a Spurs fan.
The other thing is, like, when you think about it and how a lot of teams get to this point, there was a very low valley. But for Oklahoma City, that really didn't last that long because you think about it, they were in the playoffs in the bubble. And 2 years ago in 22-23, they were in the play and they won 40 games. And so, like, they were bad for 2 years.
And they didn't have Chet. Like, they could have been better, but Chet got injured.
They had Shea building the whole thing. He bought in. He knew what was coming down the pipe. And that's kind of what makes me look at Shea, obviously not talent-wise, not impact-wise, but like a Tim Duncan in terms of just a team-first guy that you can build around. He knows what he's getting into. He knows what he's getting into in Oklahoma City and signed on for it willingly. And so I think a guy like that is someone that you can build around for a longer term than most NBA stars.
The comparison is kind of funny between, like, Oklahoma City and the Spurs, but like you saw that they were excited and, like, they celebrated, but, like, the story was, like, a lot of guys just, like, went home and, like, the locker room, although they were excited, it was kind of relaxed. Like, I think that they expect to be here and know they're going to be here for a while. And this is just like, they're like almost already like on to the next. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to repeat next year? It's like a really humble group. And
this is also the first like Gen Z champion in the NBA. All of these guys are Gen Z. So they don't really celebrate in the same way that we're used to seeing guys celebrate. You know, like Jalen Williams was saying, like, he doesn't drink. And so, and like,
well, I mean, that's like they're also super young, so like they're not going to be like, oh yeah, let me crack a cold one. But like, you look at Alex Caruso, and it's like, you know, he's like, I'm gonna have a couple beers.
You see, Chet
who was it that like pretty much spit out the Michelob Ultra? Was it the older?
It was
Jalen Williams?
It was J-Dub. And Chet Holmgren's up on his press conference stage.
It was the older one that almost spit it up.
Saying he's like, I've got these Michelob glasses, so he doesn't even know how to say the beer that they're drinking.
The Michelob. That's
ridiculous. It's kind of funny though. Like they obviously they make the great trade for Shea. They get a MVP, all these future firsts, but then they like just smash the 2022 draft, right? Like just fucking crush getting Chet and J-Dub. Chet is still a second fiddle to Wemby.
Well, yes. But no,
of course.
And J-Dub is the biggest thing there because nobody thought that this is what they were getting this quickly. And so it's just kind of the visionary aspect of Sam Presti to know that's what he's getting. And you hear reports coming out today that they're looking to trade up in this draft, and that should scare the shit out of everybody.
Right. Yeah, because there's multiple options where they can add some lengthy defenders to their rotation somewhere in the later stages of the lottery, and that would be nuts. That would be crazy if they
it just tells me that they see somebody that they like. If this is true, they see somebody that they like, and that's what scares me because they know
and they have no holes. They don't have any holes. They could improve.
I got to agree from Austin from Roundball. He said, kids these days don't drink. I bet they all sparked up after hours, though. I couldn't agree more. They're probably taking gummies, eating some edibles, you know, doing that whole business. And you know what? I'm here for it. I would be with them.
Did y'all see Chet at the parade today? Chet,
no,
they had to take the trophy away from him. He got up on the stage with a microphone and he had the trophy in his arm and he started slurring his words. His first words were like mispronounced and slurred, and they got up there and they took the trophy away from him.
Right.
I'd get a little sloppy too if I just became a champion at age like 21, 22 years
Oh,
old.
yeah.
Oh man, you would have to pick me up off the floor in a major way. I would
Like
be
for days at a
faded.
time.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Do we have
Bender
any
would
other
not describe
takeaways?
it. Um,
Do we have any other takeaways of the actual game?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I was actually really disappointed with SGA and J-Dub offensively, and I think that they were completely saved by their defense. When I look at both of the stars going 15 for 47 in a game 7 closeout situation, that's just not good enough. 4 for 19 from deep, that's not good enough. And I think obviously when you get your opponent to cough the ball up 21 times, that's going to create a lot of opportunities. So you can fuck up a lot. But I still feel as if, man, if they don't get 17 extra shots, I don't know if they win that game. And I don't know if they get that many opportunities if Hallie's out there, because I don't think they cough that ball up nearly enough.
And like Indiana just came ready to play that game. Wiz, like I was all psyched up. I went to the meat market, like we were grilling, like chilling, like really excited. And Wiz is out there about to make prop bets, and he's like, "Ooh, Hali over under 2.5 threes." And I'm like, I'm not betting against Hali this game. I think the stars are coming to play. And he hits those 3 threes in the first like 4 minutes of the game, and I'm like looking at him, and he's like, "Well, glad I didn't bet that." But he bet the Hali over on points. And I'm just like, they came to play. And it does go to show that Oklahoma City's, that's why they were a 68 win team. They have so many different ways they can win. Their defense is so good. They're so deep that they don't always need their stars to be at the highest level to compete.
And actually, they're the second highest winning team that finished their season with a championship. They won 84 games this year, short only of
Number
the
one being the
95,
Bulls.
96 Bulls, who won 87.
Yeah, which is just absolutely crazy.
The 15-16 Warriors did win 88, but they did not win the title. So, but
honestly, and one thing real quick, because we got AJ in the comments section, I got to give a huge shout out to AJ because he called it on a previous episode. He said, with a lot of these calf injuries that we're seeing recently, it would be really dangerous to have Tyrese Halliburton go out there and play. And the exact nightmare situation happened. So I got to give shout out to AJ for being a little bit of a, soothsayer and predicting that shit happening. So, yeah.
And I think you could see it in Indiana, like we were talking about, they led at halftime. And then it was like, once they got in the locker room, once they hit a break and things stopped for 15 minutes, it's like the reality of the situation set in for them. And they just came out in that third quarter and got absolutely destroyed, and it was never competitive from there. And so I just think that, that team isn't meant to withstand that. And I don't think anybody lost more money in this series than Miles Turner. It's like, you're the second, third best player on this team. We need you to do something. And he just continued to fire up brick after brick after brick. And when you're doing that and you're not living up to your abilities on the defensive end of the floor, why are you out there? He was a complete negative all series long.
Yeah.
Yeah, his skill set will still get him paid relatively handsomely in the offseason and just the salary cap situation in general. But I feel for Halliburton, right? Like you look at the Eastern Conference and you're like, man, the Celtics are, no Tatum, they're going to be down. Like, what are the Knicks? They don't even have a head coach.
So we have some breaking news,
Milwaukee,
actually.
Porzingis?
Okay.
Yeah, so we have Boston, Atlanta, and Brooklyn are finalizing a 3-team trade that sends Porzingis and a second-round pick to the Hawks, Terrence Mann and Atlanta's 22 to the Nets, and George Niang and a second-rounder to the Celtics.
Okay. I mean, I think that gets Boston out of that Porzingis contract kind of nicely.
Yeah, and it gives them a player that can come in and be productive in multiple facets with George Niang.
Yeah.
And I think they're making an effort to make this roster competitive in the absence of Jason Tatum. I don't know if it's going to
Wow, so
work, but
they got a lot cheaper. I mean,
They
Niang's
did.
on a Niang's on an $8 million contract, and he's expiring after this year. So
Well,
today alone, they got out of, or I guess Drew Holiday was late last night, but they got out of Holiday's contract, which was long term, and Porzingis as well.
but now do they
Impressive.
even have to have they shed all that they need to shed? Do they need anything else?
Round Ball Renaissance saying we are
Officially.
officially out of the second apron. Congratulations. There you
This
go.
is why we need a network of fans because Round Ball is going to be on it if it's from the Boston perspective.
I was looking at Boston's salary cap earlier. The only 3 guys they have long term are who they want to have tied up long term, and White, Brown, and Tatum. They've got Baylor Shireman for a couple more years. They've got Sam Hauser for a couple more years, and then they've got what's his face? Why can't I say?
They need to lock up Pritchard. Yeah.
They've got Pritchard under contract for a couple more years too. So
Yeah.
those 3, in addition to their big 3, are the only assets they really have tied up for a while. So that's what they needed to do. That's why Boston is what they are. They're a great organization because they don't fuck around. They were like, we're not winning next year. We need to get out of these contracts, and they did it swiftly.
Well, are they not winning next year? Because the East is looking kind of cheeks.
It is, but even
this is like a wide open, like clear path for a team like Cleveland or a team that maybe just got a little bit better in Orlando. Like maybe this is Orlando's year. They just added Desmond Bain. Maybe that's enough.
That's why they went out and made that trade. Because
I think
they
you're right.
saw
Of course,
a chance, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're not done. I don't know their cap situation.
Philly's like, are we fucking back?
Embiid's like finals, and you're like, no.
Get to 55 games played this year, Embiid. I'm like, you might be winning something. Play 60 games.
If Paul George is done, then no, they're done. But I mean,
dude, the crazy thing is, you're correct. If Paul George is somehow just still pretty good and Embiid's healthy, like they're kind of, I was about to use the word loaded, but like they've got Maxey McCain, they've got the number 3 pick in this year's draft. Like they have some assets for a team that's like as much of a blunder as they are.
Well, the whole East seems like a bit of a blunder. I mean, New York doesn't even have a coach, and I would think they would be second in the betting odds right now to come out of the East behind Cleveland. Other than Cleveland, who's ahead of them?
No, I mean, the Pacers were going to be. Boston's not anymore. Do y'all want to talk about, just since we had breaking news of the Porzingis trade, you want to talk through that Drew Holiday trade?
Yeah, sure. We absolutely can. And I couldn't agree more with this comment from AJ. Just glad Pingus didn't end up in San Antonio. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think on paper, it makes sense. We need a backup rim protector, but he wasn't instrumental in what Boston did in their run in 2024. He doesn't really need to play for them to be good. And that worries me for bringing a guy like that into San Antonio and paying him over $30 million a year.
Yeah, I think there are just better options, and that contract is too much.
Yeah, it's too much.
It's now granted he only has 1 year left on his deal, and Boston was good without him in 2024, but he had some moments in those playoffs and that finals.
Outside of game 1, when
that was a big performance in game 1.
He had a good 2 quarters. He had a good 2 quarters where he put together.
I'm sorry, but whenever I think back at that finals, it was like, oh man, Porzingis is balling out because of that game 1. I mean, yeah, he looked good, but he had some really athletic defensive plays. I'm just gonna say the illusion of him still being a good basketball player, it's still out there. But it would have only been if.
It's an interesting fit with the Hawks, I think. I mean, we're talking about teams that are somewhat going for it. How do you?
Yeah, we don't like that as Spurs fans at all, right?
No, and I don't think so. But how much better does it make the Hawks? We saw him last year with some weird illness that was never fully
Yeah.
diagnosed. His ankle is always a problem. He's always going to be an injury risk. The Hawks are getting Jalen Johnson back, and Trae Young has 1 foot out the door. So, like, they should be better, but it's also the
I don't know that Trae
Hawks.
Young does have 1 foot out the door anymore. I think the Hawks are like, I think they might be a sneaky team next year. Unfortunately, if James Johnson can come back healthy, Dyson Daniels is going to get better. Like, they low key have a nice roster, but yeah, it depends on what they get out of Porzingis. I don't think the expectations are high for him. He just was completely useless this year in the playoffs and didn't really play that much during the regular season too. So yeah. But like the expectations are low. They're going for it for 1 year, I guess. And if they want to move on from him, they can.
And
What did they give up?
so they traded George Niang, I believe, was what they gave up.
So they just had some ability to take on some extra cap.
Yeah, they must have been under the cap.
What do y'all think about the Holiday trade? Do you think that's like a no-brainer for Boston? Anthony Simons is a pretty good player, but they did it just because he's in on an expiring contract. I don't think they're planning on paying him.
Yeah,
I think
they were about to pay him.
I think it's a no-brainer for Boston because they can keep Simons for this year, and then he comes off their books. They can flip him either now or at the deadline for more assets. And I think that if they do decide to keep him all year, he fits so well with the more defensive-minded guards that they have on that roster that he can really just go out and do what Anthony Simons does, which is just get buckets. He's an automatic, 20 points a game guy, and they gave him a little bit more of that green light to do it, I think.
It's interesting that you bring up them trading him because I think you're right. I think that like Drew Holiday is still like a winning player, and I was like, is he worth more than that? I was like, are they only getting that much for Drew just because of his long-term contract and because they knew Boston was in financial kind of hardship, or like could they get more for Drew normally? I mean, Simons is a good player, but I think that's interesting. I do think that it would make sense for them to try to trade him somewhere this year.
I think that Drew is a good player, but I think he had a little bit of that Porzingis effect where he did not have a great postseason in 2025. And I think at what is Drew, 36, 37 years old? That's going to impact your value. But I do like him in Portland as the adult in the room.
I just think he
he's going back to Portland though. You got to think like they traded him away, and then they were like, all right, we're going to send you to a team that it makes more sense for your fit, and then all of a sudden he's back there, and I can't imagine morale's high with Drew Holiday.
We'll see.
He's not happy.
I think he's going to be a good fit on that team once he gets to work with Chauncey Billups a little bit. I really think he's going to be like Chauncey's right-hand man. He's the coach on the floor. And I think, if you're the Blazers, you looked at what happened in Detroit and San Antonio when they got some adults in the room, the record improved.
This is like Oklahoma City bringing in Chris Paul on a slightly smaller scale type move. But it's just like, why?
That's what I'm saying. They don't have a need. They're not building. They don't even have their like true building blocks to like bring in an old school savvy vet to teach these young guys. Like who are they trying to blossom out there in Portland?
Well, maybe they just didn't want to pay Simons, but like Drew's on a long-term deal and he's older and he's just like an additive player. But what are you adding him to?
I think they're saying that this is put up or shut up for Scoot Henderson. I mean, this is your team now. Like, can you live with that? Can you live up to that? Can you live up to the billing that you had pre-draft? And I think if he sinks, this team is going to sink because we saw them, catch lightning in a bottle a little bit towards, the last half of last season. But was that for real? Or was that just some guys playing above their league?
I do like the comment by Roundball Renaissance. Yeah, Toumani Camara is nice. Like, he's a good young player and he's a good defender. they've got a couple pieces, right?
Donovan Klingon or
Jonathan
Klingon.
Clingan, I did, and I know what you're asking yourself. The answer is yes. I did pull a very sick Jonathan Clingan game worn patch card the other day in a pack, and it was very nice. It's a $4 card.
For now.
Yeah, for now,
Yeah.
it could go up to 5 though. You never know. I got to
bet
bring
it's
up
More
another
expensive than a
comment.
Top Shot.
I got to bring up another comment. Nets have 5 first-round picks tomorrow. That's crazy. The Nets are going to be truly sweating tomorrow. I think.
Wait a second. Did they picked up another first in this deal?
Yeah, I think they picked up 22, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, they're gonna have like
they picked up
40
22.
million. They're gonna have like 35 to 40 million dollars a year in like rookie contracts. Those are all guaranteed contracts. What are they gonna do with all these rookies?
I think there's got to be another shoe to drop with them, right? Between those 5 first-round picks, Cam Thomas,
Cam
Johnson, Nick Claxton, they have so many assets that they can either grease the wheels for another trade or move some of those and make a swing up the lottery.
Can we please move back and somehow pick up Cam Johnson? That's been like a rumor, right? Like I've seen that online, like us trading down from 14. Like I would trade down from 14 to 22 if it picked us up Cam Johnson. Obviously,
Easily.
right?
So the one
Obviously,
I've seen
right?
is 14,
Yes.
is 14 and Keldon, is 14 and Keldon for 19 and Cam Johnson.
I would bust everywhere. Pardon my French.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
But
Yes.
why would they though?
But and that's the thing. I've seen rumors of both teams, the Spurs and the Nets, actually trying to move up into the lottery. So
I've seen, that we want Common Malawak.
And I don't get that. I don't get the Malawak hype, honestly. I
Neither do I.
Duke, and I think he's just a poor man's Wemby at best.
Oh, even using him in the same sentence as Wemby is criminal.
He's never going to have that outside game. He's never going to have that.
Can he not be Rudy Gobert though?
No, I
He just can't be. He can't.
Rudy Gobert is a 4-time defensive player of the year.
No, but one of them he didn't deserve.
Okay, so
straight to the Hall of Fame.
Malawak will never sniff a depoy ever. Like he would never sniff a depoy.
It's easier to take that stance. It's like, oh, he won't be the best defensive player in the world. But I did bring up the Rudy Gobert comparison. So
I like Newell and Essang way more than Malawak.
You want to go French?
The value you're going to get in the mid-first round. And I don't like Essang that much, but I like him more than Malawak. I think his game projects to be able to be more versatile.
I'm more of a Rasheer Fleming type of guy for the Spurs.
I'm a Carter Bryant. Like I think they should go Carter Bryant if he's there.
I think he'll be gone though. I don't think he gets past Toronto.
It's possible.
All right. So it seems like we're naturally segueing into this part of the conversation. So guys, ideally with our 14th pick, who would you want to see us draft tomorrow?
Rasheer Fleming. He's a little bit older. I think he's 20, 21, but he can shoot the three. Like he's been in college for 3 years, but his 3-point percentage has drastically increased every year, and his volume is drastically increased every year. So he's becoming more efficient with more volume from 3. He averages like over 3 stocks a game. He's athletic. He's a stretch 4. Like I think he is like exactly what we need. He's aggressive. He can fucking rim run. Like he does a lot. And I think love his prototype.
Probably 4 guys that I wouldn't mind seeing in that. And it's Colin Murphy-Boyle, Rashard Fleming, Carter Bryant, and I'm drawing a blank on the 4th one right now, but someone in that. I think I'm higher on Asa Newell out of Georgia than a lot of people are, just because I see 6'10" in a jump shot like that. And
I don't like him as much.
I just think that the ceiling on that game is higher than some other people, but I understand why he's more towards the 16, 17 range. But I just think a versatile wing type, any number of those guys that we listed fit that mold.
I want like a guy that doesn't need the ball. Who do you like, Rob?
I mean, I'm really looking at some of the big options, and a couple of the guys I actually really do like. One of them, I like Danny Wolf. I don't know why I like Danny Wolf so much. I think he would be a good Spurs player. He's very slow-footed on defense, which is the main reason I don't like him. But at the same time, I think that if he's in the game, so much of the offense can run through him, can run through little high posts, little passes, and to me, that could be almost like what Hartenstein is to OKC, where he just helps the ball move, helps grease the wheels, so to speak, and I think he can help our second unit out quite a bit.
See, that's the kind of player I think you trade back for. I think if the Spurs move back from 14 to 19 or 22 or whatever in that range, I think you look at that kind of player because the defensive flaws are hugely obvious.
Oh yeah, super
Can you work
slow-footed.
around that? Can you
Super
work
slow
around that?
footed. But I also think that our lineup outside of him is so good defensively that we can have him out there for points of the game and still have enough rim protection, still have good perimeter defenders, and then kind of cover up some of those inadequacies.
I just
Yeah,
want to
I
swing
think
a little bit higher. Like I think he could be a good NBA player. You have Thomas Sorber, who's another center who you could look at around there. But like I want a guy that like unequivocally can play alongside Wimby and somebody who like we've got. If you think about who we have now, we've got Fox, who's a scorer, Harper, who's going to come in and be a scorer, Castle, Wemby are both ascending and can hopefully Castle takes a big step forward. I want a guy like a fucking Tari Eason who can come in and just wreak havoc and be all over the place and give us like a defensive. I don't want to say a defensive identity because we have Wemby for that, but like just a
Then
freaking pest.
you want Colin Murphy Boyle then.
But he's a little short. I want somebody a little bit
6'8",
taller.
long wingspan.
I thought he was 6'6".
I think he's 6'8", but I'm not 100% sure. But his wingspan is 7 feet.
I don't trust any of these players' heights. I don't know
The only thing
I don't know what's
trust is
going
the
on.
combine without shoes. That's the only number I trust.
And
So
I
you
don't
gotta look
even
at
care about the
combine height
without shoes because they're playing with shoes. So like,
I just mean in terms of like the only measurement I trust is that
fair
one
enough.
specific measurement.
Right.
Fair
It's
enough.
like
I think, and Brown Ball makes a good point. If you like Walker Kessler, you'd like Malawak, but his ceiling isn't much higher. And honestly, I think Malawak's ceiling is a little lower because I think Kessler has better touch. Like I think Kessler will be a better offensive player than Malawak will be. I'm just really low on his offense.
Yes, I think that whenever he had the ball in post creation situations, he looked very uncomfortable. Really needs to be a catch and dunk, a tip in kind of guy, which is fine. But yeah, don't expect him to average more than 10 points a game and don't expect him to create anything down low.
Yeah, I think, and the guy we haven't mentioned is a guy we've mentioned previously is Derek Queen. I don't think he'll be there at 14. I think the Suns might pick him at 10 now, but that's another one that we've talked about a good amount.
Yeah,
He's
just getting rid of KD. I could see them going for like a scoring forward.
Well, they need forwards. They don't have anything but guards on that whole roster.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You need some scoring and you need a forward. So why not look at a guy like Queen who can hit a big shot?
Queen, he has pedigree too. He was an elite recruit, like in the fucking AAU circuits. He was a dominant force, blue chipper, McDonald All-American, high performer as a freshman. The thing with him is like, I mean, his best attribute, scoring. Could he be like a Julius Randle type guy? Like that's a comp that I would almost give to him would be a guy like Julius Randle, and which would be, I mean, hell, Julius Randle's had a great NBA career by all standards, right?
I think that is a fair comp, and he also in some ways when he uses his weight and kind of fades away a little bit reminds me of Zebo in some kind of ways. So I think that if he plays and is some kind of hybrid between those two, because I don't think he's as athletic as Julius Randle, definitely not at that stage in his career.
Yeah.
So I think
he's more Wendell Carter Jr.
My fear is he's more Anthony Bennett.
No, he's more talented than Anthony.
No,
I don't
he's
know
more
what happened.
He's more
Ooh.
talented, but still, like when a player of that mold goes south, that's what it looks like. Whether they go to the wrong organization, something's not right between the ears. Like that's my biggest fear with that.
But Anthony Bennett isn't going south. That's like
That's
that's the pits of hell.
Part of
That's
that,
the
part of the
pits
way
of
we think of
Noggle.
him though is because he was overdrafted. Like if
Yeah.
Anthony Bennett had been the 10th pick, like what we're talking about Derek Queen, I think we would look at him in a little bit of a different light. But that's still my fear with that kind of player.
Is there any chance we like move? There's no way we take 3. I was about to say something silly. Like, is there any way we move up from 38? No way, right?
No,
But we have
no.
like a couple really, really big second round picks in the next year's draft that could be valuable, but trade 14 for Giannis straight up.
I think Milwaukee does that.
I think who was the dude? Jalen Moore from Oklahoma. We were working him out for that second round pick towards Achilles.
Yikes.
Oh my goodness, that seems to be
Okay.
going around. And honestly, now that we're talking about torn Achilles again, I want to bring up this thing I saw from CBS Sports. They had a doctor on there that said, due to the pace of play nowadays, that players or excuse me, teams in total are running about 200 miles more per season, and it's leading to obviously more space in the game. Players are running and having more distance to cover, but this is leading to a large increase in Achilles injuries. And it's, you see that with Tatum and Halliburton and even, guys like Garland
Lillard.
Lillard and Garland, who tried to come back and then end up hurting his toe again. Do you think that this increased mileage due to pace of play could be leading to guys getting injured?
I wonder when they compared to, because
2012.
Because back in like the 70s, the ABA days, it was a similar pace of play to what we're seeing now.
But they compared it to 2012.
My thought is that that's kind of further down the list of reasons why we're seeing this.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Like you use your body more, you put more toll on your body. It makes sense that injuries have increased, but it seems like it's almost specific to Achilles though. And
I think
I think we had 9 torn Achilles in the NBA this year, and I think the highest number was like 4 or 5, like in recent memory, if I remember correctly. I saw statistics, so I don't know. I think it makes sense. You use a car more, you put more miles on a car, the odds of it needing more mechanical work or needing more oil changes or regular maintenance is higher. And I don't know why it'd be any different with a body, which is even more prone to.
Rob, you might be a bit different because you were a bit higher level basketball player than Adam and myself were at a young age. But
speak for yourself, James.
I think a bigger problem more than increased space leading to more mileage is specialization at a younger age. Like when we were young, basketball had its season, and then you went and played baseball, then you played football. Like I remember, Rob, you played football in middle school. You weren't playing basketball all year round. But these kids, when they get into the NBA now at 19, 20 years old, have been playing high-level basketball nonstop for a decade.
Hey, hold up. It says my recording is stopped.
Well,
I don't.
Hold on. All right. I think I think try to leave and come back in.
Okay.
There's always something when we're doing it live. All right, leave and come back in. But yeah, I agree. It's specialization at an early age. It does lead to those amount of injuries because you're doing those muscle movements, those same repetitive actions over and over and over again.
What do you think about the shoes of it all?
What do I think about the shoes of it all?
Like, because like I've seen a lot of people bringing up the fact that they think a lot of these injuries are to do with low top sneakers being popularized. I myself could never play in low tops because my ankle was too bad.
I don't think it's low top specific. Because I mean, I remember so many players, you know, that love to play in low tops, and then they would be completely, they would be really the guys that don't really get injured the most. All right, I'm hearing echo like crazy, and I can't adjust it while recording. Okay. Can you adjust that, Adam?
It doesn't let me click it. Echo cancellation. You want me to come back again?
No, we just can't do it while